Okay, I wanted to give you a kind of a quick, brief description of holes and threads. You've already drawn a couple of examples, and I think I need to clarify a few things. In doing simplified threads here and then schematic threads, the thread depth is not that critical in our drawing. So often we'll use a chart like this one based on the diameter of the screw, how deep we would draw the threads, and then the pitch, meaning the threads per inch spacing, that we would use here in the schematic. Now if you know what the threads per inch is, like the one example we drew was a 12 threads per inch, then you would space it out 1/12 of an inch. If you don't know, then you just use the chart, the spacing on the chart, okay? With simplified threads, you notice the hidden line, which is the root of the thread, does not extend into the chamfer area when you're drawing it in profile or side view. When you're drawing it in section, which is unusual to do, but it is done, yes, you would continue that on across into the chamfer area. Okay, let's look at this hole note right here. Oftentimes, you're just going to see the thread note, diameter of the thread, and the threads per inch, and the type of thread, and then a depth. But sometimes you'll have the drilled hole dimension, which is what this is right here. If we look at this sample here that I keep on my desk, here we've got a blind hole. This is in cross section. So you can see there's a cone shape at the bottom, okay, and then the threads only go down to a certain depth. They don't go all the way to the bottom, because when we're making those threads or cutting them, usually we cannot thread all the way to the bottom, because I didn't bring the drill bit over here. Hang on. Okay, here we have an example of a drill bit. I'll lay it down so it'll be still. And the bottom of the drill bits are cone shaped. Okay, it's not exactly 30 degrees, but we typically draw it at 30 or 31 degrees. Okay, all right. This is known as a tap, and this is what is used to cut the threads. So we would drill a hole with a drill bit, and then either by hand or by machine, we use a tap, and it cuts the threads of the hole. Okay, and taps are sized based on the type of threads, and you may not be able to see it, but this one is a 7/16 NC 14. So it's a 7/16 diameter bolt, coarse threads, 14 threads per inch. Okay, and you notice on the ends they're tapered right here, because as it starts cutting, it can't immediately start with the full size. But anyway, that's what a tap looks like, and that's used to thread a blind hole. Now sizing, you're going to use some of these tap drill charts, and there's a variety of different types around, and you're going to use one in some future examples. But the way these work is you've got the size of the bolt. Okay, and we'll just go with the example of the one that I pulled out right here. This was a 7/16 NC. So I'll come over here. Okay, 7/16 NC 14. That's what I've got. Okay, so drill bits come in either numbers that size them. Okay, you've got numbers, you've got fractions, or you've got letters. Because there's just like a gazillion different sizes. So for this one, we would use a letter U drill bit, which is real close to being a 23/64 inch diameter. That's what we would use to drill the hole with. Okay. So in the example here in the book and the drawing problems, when you see it like this first line is the diameter of the drilled hole and the depth of the drilled hole. The second row is the actual threads for the bolt. It's a 3/8 diameter 16 threads per inch, Unified National Course 2B fit, okay? For a threaded depth of 0.688, which you draw, okay? The outside lines will be the diameter of the fastener, major diameter, which will be 3/8 inch, 0.375. Then you come down the thread depth. And in this case, we look at our chart up here at the top, a 0.375. We use a thread depth of 0.0468. So meaning we would come down 0.0468, up 0.0468. And then we continue that drilled line on out of that same size. And that's because there'll be a change between these two lines. When we're drawing it, we just draw it on out. Okay? The thread length, this distance here, would be the 0.688. The tap drill depth, this length, would be the 0.875. All right? When you're dealing with schematic threads, you're going to space these out P, if you know it, like in the case of, well, the one down at the bottom of the page here, a 3/8 16. So P is 1/16, 1/16 of an inch. So you can either use the actual thread P, or you can use P from the chart. In this case, it's a 0.313 diameter. So P would be 0.0625, which is the same as what we had, okay, for 1/16 of an inch. The depth of it here, we use the thread depth, and you can use the chart up here, which in this case, a thread depth 0.03125. And so that's what we would come down to establish the height of the root lines, which is this right here. Okay? So I kind of hope that kind of clears things up a little bit for you. I know there's a little bit of confusion, but that should help you out. If not, shoot me an email, ask me a question in the lab.